Let's be honest, who doesn't love Antiques Roadshow? It's the ultimate treasure hunting fantasy from the comfort of our own couches. We all have that one dusty box in the attic or that strange painting from grandma, and we secretly dream that it's our ticket. We watch every week as people line up, clutching hope in their hands, waiting for an expert to tell them they've been sitting on a lottery ticket all these years. Most of the time, it's a lovely, but not valuable piece of family history. But sometimes, lightning strikes. We live for those moments, the gasp from the expert, the hand-to-the-mouth shock from the guest, the slow, dramatic reveal of a number with an unbelievable amount of zeros. But in a recent episode, audiences got a twist they never saw coming. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the heart. And it left one of the show's most seasoned experts, David Weiss, absolutely floored. It was a classic setup. A guest, unassuming and calm, joined David on the PBS show. He brought with him a piece that, to the untrained eye, might look like a chaotic doodle. But to David Weiss, it was an immediate jolt of electricity. He was looking at an original oil stick painting by none other than Jean-Michel Basquiat. If you don't know the name, let's just say Basquiat is the art world equivalent of a rock god. He was the man, the myth, the legend of the 1980s New York art scene. This is the guy who went from spray painting graffiti on downtown buildings, under the tag SAMO, to being the absolute pinnacle of the art world, collaborating with Andy Warhol and defining a generation, all before his tragic death at just 27 years old. Today, his work doesn't just sell, it shatters records. We're talking 9 figures. In 2017, one of his paintings sold for over $110 million, making it the most expensive work by an American artist ever sold at auction. So when an original Basquiat shows up on Antiques Roadshow, it's not just a good find. It's a stop-everything moment. David Weiss, trying to keep his professional cool, was visibly buzzing. "This is an amazing thing to have," he said, his voice packed with the kind of excitement only a true art lover can feel. He immediately recognized it as one of the artist's earlier pieces, which only adds to its mystique and value. This was it, the big one. But the guest? He was about to tell a story that was even better than the painting itself. David asked the question we all wanted to know. "Where on earth did you get this?" The guest explained, "I lived in New York from 1979 to 1985. I work in construction and I've gone to art school." This is where the story goes from interesting to unbelievable. He continued, "One of my friends that I worked with, Chris Sedlmayr, Jean-Michel Basquiat, used to work for him as a helper." You could almost hear the collective intake of breath from the crew. Basquiat, a helper? Before the fame, before the millions, he was just a young artist trying to make a buck. "Chris and I, and another gentleman, were business partners," the guest said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "And one Christmas he gave me this as a Christmas present." Let that sink in. This wasn't an investment. It wasn't a savvy art world purchase. It was a Christmas gift, from a buddy, who just so happened to employ one of the 20th century's most important artists as a helper. To make the story even more perfect, the guest had the ultimate proof, a letter from his business partner. The letter detailed the entire history, when it was drawn in Chris' loft, when he gifted it for Christmas, and in a fascinating side note, that Basquiat himself actually came back to the loft later to sign some of his other drawings because he heard they might try to sell them. This was the real deal. A flawless history, an ironclad provenance, and a direct personal link to the artist himself. Now it was David's turn. He explained the context, the symbols, the figural work, the words that can take on many different meanings that make Basquiat's art so powerful. He talked about the artist's short, explosive life and his monumental impact. The tension was palpable. The guest was smiling, listening patiently. David was looking at the art, then at the guest, then back at the art. Finally, he dropped the bomb. The appraisal value, $400,000. $400,000. A life-changing amount of money. Enough to buy a house. Enough to retire early. Enough to make pretty much any dream a reality. The audience cheered. This was the payoff. And then the moment that made the entire room and everyone watching at home gasped. The guest, without missing a beat, just smiled and said, "That's good." "Wait, what? Could?" He then delivered the line that stunned David Weiss into silence. "But we won't sell it, we'll keep it." David was visibly taken aback. He was expecting joy, tears, maybe even a little